Hello and welcome to another one of these team versus team events. This is week 2 and the first week elimination. With a few events we had. Split group half of and yeah, the B side elimination. So driver racing on tonight. So here we are at the Mount Panorama circuit. Sorry about those issues. We just had a few sound issues with the controller, and we'll be heading out to the event very shortly. Just to run you through what will happen tonight, we'll just have the one race in this lobby. I will just bring up the drivers in this lobby to start with. We have David Red for the IGT SH team, P1 Dylan for P1 RC, NM1M for Club 100, a series I'm very linked to, shall we say. NR Philo, who's from Next Gen, another series I know well. Daco 1993 for GTHR. Callum Cripps Racing, C Cripps Racing, you'll see on the screen, for SBR. Burns Fry 699 for CRT. Roadrunner for ART. Icklepants for MVP. For Buki 2007 for Slim FX, and JV Kuska for DR. So those are the drivers here in the event tonight. If you would like to leave any comments or ask any questions, I do have the live chat in front of me, so I can answer anything you want to say, or if you just want to say hello, feel free. And also, if you enjoy the coverage, please click like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping you are all hearing me alive, of course you hear me alive, hear me loud and well. I am having a few mic issues, but if you could let me know if you can hear me, that'd be great. We're currently looking at some of the drivers out on the circuit. and that is Daco93, who's quickest in this practice session so far. We're just waiting for some more drivers to join the lobby. But here we are at Mount Panorama with the Peugeot RCZ, I believe. I will just find the full details of the lobby. We have Mount Panorama race circuit. It's a 30-minute race with a grid start, so no rolling starts. Tyre wear on ×3 and full depletion on ×5. There's no boost in this. The slipstream's real, so you've all got those details for this event. It actually looks quite dark there for Australia, which is a first. Qualifying is 10 minutes long, so we'll have a 10-minute qualifying, 30-minute race, exactly the same as last week. Except these are the top drivers from last week. Some of the top drivers from last week. We'll bring up the team versus team standings so far, just so I can give you some kind of idea of who finished where last week. So we have David Red in the lobby. He won his heat race last week to decide where he was going to be placed in the A or B side of the draw. We also have Dylan, who finished second in his race. Nathan, who finished second in his race, NM1. We have TNR Philo, he finished third in his race. Daco finished third in his race. Callum Critch Racing, he finished fourth in his race. And Burnt Fry and Roadrunner both finished fifth. Icklepants finished sixth. Fabuki finished sixth, sorry. And we also have, who else do we have in this lobby? I think that may be it for this group. Yes, I think that's it, because everybody else went through to the oh, we got Jev Kuska, sorry, he finished same position, finished in 7th by the looks of it. So all these drivers finished in the top 7 of their race. It's been split between the two lobbies on the A side of the grid, but this is where it now gets interesting. Every driver will be fighting for every position, because those points system is just to see how everybody gets on. It's more important now that you finish in the top half of this field. I believe it's the top 6 go through from this race. Now, with 2 weeks to go after this, it is the semi-finals next week, and on week 4 we have the actual final, which will be 5 or 6 drivers going at it all the way to the end, and hopefully it was some brilliant racing, because it will be the top drivers from the whole event. You can see a few British flags in there, a Croatian in Daco, Hungarian and David Red, got Irish and Jev Kuska. This is just practice at the moment, so we'll just see what drivers we have. There is David Red in the Hungarian colours on his Peugeot. His teammate Ricci was very quick last week in the lobby I commentated on, so I'll be expecting similar pace from him, David Red, tonight. We have Daco there with the black and orange and white Peugeot. We also have Icklepants in the red and white car, heading down through the end of the Conrad Straight there, and we're just heading into qualifying, so we will try and go on board with a lap of the circuit once the drivers get round onto their quick laps. Out they'll go. They'll go out as quickly as they possibly can, because they haven't got long in this session. 10 minutes. Bathurst isn't a short track, and it's very complicated, very easy to get caught up in traffic on top of the mountain here at Mount Panorama. finding out a map of the circuit so I can help myself through the whole lap. As we can see, there is Fubuki, the host of the lobby, and thank you to him for hosting this one for us. He's heading up through Skyline and across the top of a mountain at this moment. This part of the track is all about commitment, or you will be in the wall. You can see him just leaving a bit of gap to a wall at this stage. There's no point pushing it too hard, but I am going to go on board for my lap with a driver I know and have raced in karts before, Callum Cripps here for SBR. A very quick driver, races out in cars half the time now. I'm trying to think what the last thing I've seen him out in. But anyway, here we are. He's going down onto the Conrad Straight, and we will go on board with him with a lap when he gets down to the start-finish line. But it's all about finding your own space in this qualifying session. The Conrad Straight, massive place to overtake, but over top of the hill, if you catch traffic, it's going to ruin that qualifying lap. And as you can see, there's already only 8 minutes remaining, so this outlap has took them over 2 minutes to get round. Obviously a little quicker on the fast laps, but we'll get some lap times at the end of the next lap to sort of judge how drivers are getting on. But we will now go on board with Callum as he goes into the final corner and onto the pit straight to start his qualifying lap. So he now goes onto a main straight towards the first corner, Hell Corner. Hits the apex well, runs it out onto his tarmac, up in third gear there, and now onto Mountain Straight, obviously heading towards the famous mountain of Mount Panorama. And I can't see any kangaroos on the circuit, which is a great start to it tonight. He heads up towards Griffin's Bend, down to about third gear sometimes. Yep, down to third to get the front end to turn in. Just nicely nudges off that curb. It can send you up over into a barrier, but it doesn't quite work. Into the cutting, nicely banked corner, down to third for this corner as he goes through Quarry and up over Frog Hollow. Pure commitment needed through here as the drivers push hard to create their fastest time. Runs a bit close to the wall there by Callum, but holds on and he heads towards Skyline and the S's. Again, commitment needed through here. Speed, but keep it clean. He's kept it clean there through the dipper and heading down towards Forest Elbow at the bottom. Here we are, very tight corner. Don't want to run too wide into the barrier again, but you need the best run possible onto the Conrad Straight as the speed builds here. I remember Murray Walker's famous words in the V8 Supercars, just saying wow as you go over the top of this hill here. Car just taking off, but the slipstream helping Callum here. He should get a little bit of a tow as he comes through the chase and into the braking area, holds it tight, just slightly misses the apex there, but it's his first lap out, so that's fine. And he heads down towards Murray's corner to end the lap. A 90-degree left-hander, brakes at the 50-metre mark, and round he goes onto the pit straight. So let's see the time starting to come in, and it's currently ART Roadrunner with a 2 minute 10.8 who's gone onto pole position, but that lap by Callum was just good enough to put him into second on the grid. But they've both been beaten by P1 Dylan, who's done a 10.6, 10.5 by Nathan. That puts Club 100 on the pole position at this moment in time. There is Nathan in this Club 100 livery, and I've been asked to pass my thanks on to Martin Robinson from Club 100 for doing these liveries for him. But he has now lost out to David Red by 0.078 of a second on a circuit like this. That is nothing. So much time to gain there for Nathan. He will be able to pull that out of the bag as well. keep any questions or comments coming in. I can see Nathan actually said let's go before racing's fine, and we've got a good look from Milden SBR for Callum, part of the SBR crew there. But we have 4 minutes 18 on the clock, probably time for 2 more laps, including the one we're on. Nathan pushing hard here as he heads towards the dipper. Full commitment into there. Very late braking, he's got steady. You can see the O plate on the side of Nathan's car. That's due to him winning the Club 100 O plate on GT Sport only last week. He heads out onto the Conrod Straight, and we'll go on board with him down this Conrod Straight as the speed builds. And he chases down, I can't see whose car that is, in the pink car in front. But will he be able to find enough time to steal that pole position? Fubuki has headed to the pits, he's in P8 at the moment. He'll be looking for a fresh set of tyres to get another lap in. But here comes Nathan. Just comes. Oh, Nathan's boxed. So Nathan is in the pit lane. They're all pitting actually. Tyre wear must be a factor here. But Callum Cripps has gone on to pole position by 6 thousandths of a second. We didn't see any of his lap, but that proves that you can get a second lap out of these tyres. And 6 thousandths of a second, Callum Cripps takes pole position by at this stage. David Red only 78 thousandths ahead of Nathan, so that means the top 3 are covered by less than a tenth of a second. And in 4th place is P1 Dylan, who's again only 77 thousandths off 3rd place. So very close session here at the moment. Top 4 covered by 1.161 of a second. ART Roadrunner not too far behind either. A couple of attempts is quite easy to find on this circuit, such complex corners, to get your commitment through, and that's a very good banker start by Roadrunner. We've also got there's Philo, not far behind Roadrunner either. These times are mega close. There's Philo in the next gen car. I don't want to predict it, but I'm guessing that was designed by Mark Sykes. But we'll find out some other time. Daco goes into pole position with a 2:10.1. That's a cracking lap. That has definitely opened up the door. Almost 4 tenths of a second clear of anybody else, and he'll get one more attempt with 1 minute 32 to go. Paul Twigg says go Jordan. But we have all the drivers back out the pits. There's Ickelpants in 8th place, 8 tenths off the pole. Fubuki following him through at the moment. He's 9th at this stage, just over a second off pole position. While Jev Kuska is there in 10th and 11th for CRT Burnt Fry in a classic blue and white livery, that looks like. But we'll head back to front. There's Danko still pushing on this final lap for himself. Any drivers crossing the line now, it will be their final chance to try and steal the pole position. And if you look at the map in the top right corner, you will see there's one car on the Conrod Straight. This is Danko at the bottom of the map, and everybody else is pretty bunched together. So that could cost somebody a few tenths if they catch them across the mountain. Here comes Danko onto the Conrod Straight. Walmid says hi Gus. It's good to see you tuning in there, Sam Dimlo. But we have 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's the session over. So the drivers can only finish their lap now, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform. I do understand I do sound quite far away from a mic, but that is just the spare mic that I've got for tonight. I'll hopefully have a new one by next week. But here goes Danko. Daco goes across the line, no improvement. So now it will be down to everybody else to try and beat that lap time. There is Callum Cripps, who's second on the grid at the moment, and he is just... He's out on his own, but he's in the middle of that pack, so if somebody else makes a mistake, which I think's just happened ahead, possibly, but no, all good cars are still running, so he's still got a good run here. Who can improve on this final lap of qualifying here at Bathurst? Just having a look, there's David Red, he hasn't improved, so his session is over in third. There's Nathan. Fubuki improves to a 2:10.3. That moves him up into second place. What a lap that is. Where has that come from? He was down in 9th and he's put in a lap time to put himself on the front row. Let's see what happens now. Can anybody else improve? We can see the drivers coming through. There's Nathan about to cross the line. He comes across and he goes into pole position. The Club 100 driver takes pole position here at Bathurst with the last lap of the session, taking pole by 64 thousandths of a second. Unbelievable. Last minute there by Nathan Maximin, NM1M. But there we are. He takes the front row alongside P1 Dylan. Daco goes third and Fubuki with that great lap in fourth. Callum Cripps in fifth, David Red in sixth, Roadrunner in seventh, Philo in eighth. But we get ready for the lights to go out and the race to begin. We look down at the pole position holder. There in front of you is P1 Dylan. That's for some reason results saying that he's on pole. Nathan hasn't got away. Nathan Maximin has not got away. He seems to have disappeared off. I'm not sure what's happened there, but the Club 100 driver has completely disappeared. Let's have a look down the field. There he is in 10th place. 10th place for Nathan after he qualified on pole position. That's a disaster for him, and he's going to have to work his way back through this field with a half an hour race time. But up the front, it's P1 Dylan defending from Fubuki, who's had a great start from the second row of the grid and is now challenging for the lead. Now, will these drivers try and work together and push themselves further forward, or will they be looking to just get into the lead as early as possible? P1 Dylan slowly just gapping as we go up onto the mountain for the first time. Commitment needed on this first lap on cold tyres, as P1 Dylan pulls out a half-second gap to Fubuki. We'll look further back, there's David Red with Daco just close behind, and Jev. There's a bit of a gap back to Jev and C. Cripps Racing. But what a start that was, and what crucial that Maximin NM1M ends up 9th at the moment. He's got a fight back to make it into the semi-finals. Top 6 make it through from this heat, and he has to fight through from 9th now. Luckily it's not a grid of 30 odd cars. There is only a grid of 11, but 5 go out, and he does not want to be one of them. You can see a bit of damage on the back of his car already. I'm not sure. Oh, that's probably from the start line. Didn't seem to get away for some reason. Hopefully we'll find out why that is at a later point. But as they come round to complete the first lap, it's going to be a lap led for P1 Dylan as he goes down into the final corner. So he leads lap 1 in the relentless pink livery, and second is Fubuki, third is David Red, and these three have slightly pulled a gap from Daco over the end of that lap, who's now majorly under pressure by Jev, Callum Cripps and Bernd Fry, who's come from the back of the grid. But this is going to be the crucial battle. The top 3 have got away for now, but looking up front, Fubuki is going for the lead around the outside of the corner. He's been left room. Will he make it up as they come onto the mountain? No, he won't, and he backs off and drops back into second place. But Fubuki looking very racy at this stage of the proceedings. maybe not what he needs to do at this stage. There's 26 minutes remaining, 27, sorry, minutes remaining. There's no need to fight at this stage. Just start to pull away. Just make sure you're not near that bubble of 6th place, which is currently held by Callum Cripps Racing. Now Callum will know he needs to bide his time as Jeff Kuska just runs slightly wide there, but he can't bide too much time because he has Jeff right behind him, looking to make his way through. Oh, sorry, Burnt Fry right behind him. Jev's just in front of him. And look what's happened. What's happened here? Fabuki's must have made a move on to P1 Dylan, and the top 7 are in your picture now. What on earth has happened here? Because this field has closed right up and it's Fabuki now in the lead. We'll try and look back and see what happened here if we can. No, he was already leading on that replay, so he can't go back that far back. He's got the wipers going and the lights ablaze. David Red defending from P1 Dylan, who will be looking to get that position back. But P1 Dylan now under pressure from Daco. This race is action all the way already. And there is Burnt Fry in this pack at the back, and there is NM1 as well, all in this pack. There's 10 cars in this pack. I think the whole field's in this pack. There's TNR Philo at the back of the grid for next gen at the moment, but he is only 3.2 seconds off the lead. Well, if we can have this for another 25 minutes, I'll be on the edge of my seat for the whole of it. Oh, Fabuki onto the grass. Obviously too busy looking in his mirrors at this stage of the race, instead of trying to pull away. But the top 4 have broken slightly clear. There is Callum Cripps moving past Jeff Kuska for 5th place, which puts Kuska on the bubble and into the final qualifying spot for now. We'll look back. There is TNR Philo just behind Icklepants. These drivers just biding their time, letting the chaos just die down a little bit. There's no need to sort of panic at this stage of the race when you're 3.5 seconds off the lead and in 11th place. But Philo there having a look ahead as they go into the dipper. Philo watching the whole pack will go on board with him as we go through, and look, you can see that qualifying position already still ahead. It's not that far. Oh, and there's a mistake there by Icklepants. Will Philo be able to take advantage? Not quite, but he'll get a lovely slipstream down this straight, as they all will. Yes, to answer your question, top 6 qualify from this lobby, Sam. So that will be Burnt Fry, NM1, Roadrunner, Icklepants and Philo missing out at this stage. But in front is an absolute chaotic battle. Oh, is that Kuska off? No, it's not. That's Burnt Fry, I think. Yes, Burnt Fry down into last place now after running wide after the chase. Disappointing for Burnt Fry, but he will have Philo in front and they'll look to work together to move forward. But that means that NM1 is back into the qualifying positions after qualifying on pole position. He has now worked his way back up into 6th place and sits 3.1 seconds off the lead. Can he get himself back into the podium positions and possibly challenge for this victory? Callum Cripps is just in front, and he'd do well to work with Callum. Callum will have the pace to keep with this pack in front, and there's no point fighting because they are now dropping the 5 drivers who will not qualify for next week's battle. Oh, Callum Cripps runs wide, hits the wall, and Nathan has no choice but to overtake. And now they're saying, bit of flash of lights, obviously work together, try and push forward towards his top 4, who are being led by Fabuki, who has now got an 8/10 lead as he comes over the mountain. Not sure why he's got the wipers going, to be fair, but he has, and he is currently in the lead. David Red in 2nd place, P1 Dylan in 3rd and Daco in 4th. Aidan McCafferty. Come on, P1 Dylan. Yes, P1 Dylan is still going strong after. I'm not sure what even happened there on lap 2, but it caused absolute chaos in the pack. The pack has now spread out again, and these four will be looking to keep that gap. I think it's currently 1.7 seconds to NM1, who is closing that gap. He's now within 3 seconds of the lead. And Callum Cripps being sensible, he's sitting there just waiting, just trying his best to push Nathan along towards the top 4, because the higher up in the top 5, 6 you get, the better the points, but more importantly, the safer you are qualifying if something happens. We look further back, there is chaos behind. Roadrunner did take 7th for a very small amount of time, but he is now down to last. And it's Icklepants who's looking to try and make it into the pack. It was only about 2 laps ago that I was saying Icklepants and Philo were biding the time at the back of the pack. They're now sitting 7th and 8th and ready to pounce if there's a mistake in front, or if they can catch these leaders, these top 6 who are due to qualify for next week's semi-final. But the Icklepants and Philo of Next Gen will want to get their team into the next round. Philo driving with Hirakram in the Next Gen team, Hirakram in the other lobby. Can't quite tell you how that is going on at this stage, I wouldn't know, but we've got 20 minutes remaining here in this first lobby, and the Bathurst circuit is looking brilliant in this light. Oh, and Philo up on the grass as they head towards the downhill chicane, and if you lose it there, it's game over for the rest of the day. But these guys are not closing in on Callum Cripps in 6th, and it's going to be, unless there's mistakes at this stage, the top 6 might be decided here. But in front of Callum, NM1 is still trying to close that gap to the top 4, but they're just not fighting at this stage. So it is still Fubuki who leads, but David Red has closed the gap, and the lead is now only 0.2 of a second between Fubuki and David Red. P1 Dylan is in 3rd, and Dako is hanging on to the back in 4th. These 4 all teamed together will go on board with Dako there in 4th place, 0.8 off the lead. Now here at Bathurst, yes, you want the toe down the Conrod Straight and this main straight up towards the mountain, but being too close to the driver in front as you hit the mountain can cost you quite a bit of time. And currently for this group, it is really not costing them, and they're driving very well. And I don't want to sound disheartening, but it does look like they're driving within themselves at the moment. They're not trying to fight, they're just taking it as clean as they can to try and keep this gap so they can fight for the lead between the 4 of them at the end of this race. But the Wiper's still going like mad on the leader. Oh, as Fubuki clips a wall as he heads on to the top of the mountain, and that's going to give David Red a chance of getting past him. No way through across the top of the mountain though. Oh, Fubuki again touching the grass. It's getting a bit ragged for him. He's obviously pushing a lot harder than I-40 was. That piece of grass there is fine to clip, but Fubuki really having to push hard to keep David Red behind. David Red looking clean and clinical in his lines and his braking. Onto the Conrod Straight, he heads up the hill, he's got the slipstream, the gap starts to close down. Will he make a move into the chase, or will he just decide to sit and wait? I think he's a bit far back this time, sits in the mirrors, see if Fubuki, he's seen a couple of mistakes from Fubuki, so he'll be looking for the same from him, but maybe a bigger error that he can't control. Close behind we have P1 Dylan, and that's how close the top three are. You can see there P1 Dylan right up behind David Red, and Daco just having a watching brief at this stage, which is sensible, to be honest. There's no need to get involved in this fight. Even if you don't win the race, you still qualify for that semi-final, and that is all important, because at the end of the day the winner of the final wins the event. It's not, you know, the points are nice, but the winner of the final wins the event. So it's all about qualification. There we are with Nathan, who has dropped Callum Cripps, who seems to have possibly made a mistake somewhere. There is Callum Cripps, and he's now got Icklepants in touching distance of him, and TNR Philo is there to take advantage if another mistake comes. But Callum's experienced enough, shouldn't make any more mistakes, I'd say. Jay Elliott saying, can we see the fuel and tyres on board? Yes, I'm going to head towards that at the halfway point of the race, which we've just actually reached in 40 seconds time. So we will have a look at how these drivers are getting on with fuel and tyres. So we will get rid of we'll head to the leaders first. No, actually, let's head to the coverage at the back first. There's ART Roadrunner. Let's see if he is struggling. Tyre wear looking absolutely perfect there, and plenty of fuel available. Go to 10th place. Is that because he has pitted by the looks of them tyres? I think he's pitted because everybody else seems to have. Yes, so there is the car of Burnt Fry. Front tyres suffering a little bit of fuel, evaporating by the looks of that under quarter of a tank, but you'd expect that from everybody who hasn't pitted yet, because I think everybody will be looking to pit during this race at some point. Just seeing if anyone's pitting. Yes, Fabuki is in, David Red is in, NM1 and P1 Dylan is in, Callum Cripps is in, Philo is in, everybody taking advantage of this. But Daco is continuing out in front. He has decided not to pit on this lap. His fuel level is looking very healthy, to be fair, with over a quarter of a tank remaining, and his tyre level, he's protective of his tyres like they're his own, and he has to pay for them. But luckily GT Sports will just give him a pair of new ones for free. So Daco now leads the field and will be possibly pitting next time round, or he might even get another lap in yet. Let's have a look at the run out of pit lane, and it's David Red who has come out in second place. So that means Fabuki must have had a bad pit stop, because he is down in 5th now and having to fight for his future in this competition. That is surprising, actually, to be fair. Looking further back, Philo, great pit stop, has got himself ahead of Icklepants and Callum Cripps. Question is, has he pitted yet? We'll look at the tyres. Yes, he must have pitted, because he has got perfect tyres. And Callum Cripps is now outside of the qualification zone and will be pushing hard to make it past at next gen's TNR Philo. But we look back to the front and see if Daco pits this lap by. Just had a message from Jay Elliott saying Fabuki used more fuel, so that's possibly why his lap time was pit stop was longer. As Daco pits now, this will be interesting. He doesn't have to stop. He's got a lap less fuel to stick in the car. So will he be able to take advantage? He was sitting there nicely in 4th place, just slipstreaming off the top 3. Tyres come off, tyres back on, fuel going in. He's waiting, he's waiting. Ignore the timing tower on the left. It doesn't matter on GT Sport until they leave the pit lane. but he leaves, and it looks like David Red will lead this race. Yes, David Red leads, and he's got a nice healthy lead over Daco there. And in third place, what a pit stop and what a stint it's been for NM1, who moves up into third place after that terrible start from pole position, which dropped him down to 10th. But he's now having to defend from P1 Dylan as he goes up towards the mountain. These two fighting hard, not when there's not much need to, except for pride. But what could Nathan win this race? He's 2.6 off the lead at this stage. If he can find some pace, he could win this race. Looking further back, Philo there in 6th place, and he's holding off Callum Cripps at this stage in the next gen car. Philo, who qualified down in about 10th place, I believe, 8th or 10th place, somewhere towards the middle to back of the grid, has made his strategy work today, and is now looking to close in on Fubuki, who was the early leader, but obviously had used more fuel up and had to spend more time in the pit lane. But our new leader this time onto the Conrad Straight is David Red, the Hungarian team. IGTSH, the Hungarian team, who are looking for a second win after winning last week. And it's just dominance by this team at this stage. Last week, Ricci in my lobby won that race, and his teammate here, David Red, is leading the way with Croatian Daco 1.6 behind. But remember, wide by David Red out the final corner. Daco does have 1 lap fresher tyres. Might make a difference as it comes towards the end. We have less than 10 minutes remaining now in this race. The pack have spread out, but if you look at the map on the top right, the red arrow is the leader, and the blue arrows are all the drivers behind. We still only have 19 seconds covering everybody in this field after 20 minutes of racing, and it's still open to who's going to qualify through to this to the semi-final, next week, as Callum Cripps is now having to push hard. He's 1.1 seconds behind TNR Philo, and he will be hoping for a mistake in front just to get him closer, to give him more time to put pressure on Philo. But I've raced Philo before, and he does not succumb to pressure easily, and he is looking to close on Fubuki himself. Our early leader is there in 5th place, last lap at 2:10.5, still got the wipers going. How that's not distracting him, I do not know. But he comes down through the dipper, clips the wall slightly on the inside, but makes it through safely, and is now pulled out a 2.4 second lead over Philo, so he will be feeling a lot more comfortable as he tries to close in on these leaders. But one person who is closing in is NM1 and P1 Dylan. These two are closing in on these leaders as Daco is now looking to try and make a move into the chase. He goes up the inside and he now leads. He's moved straight past David Red early on, and now will try to pull out a gap as he runs wide on the exit. Will that allow David Red to get back through? Heads down to the final corner defending, but it's more a battle by NM1, who is looking for second place. Third place is not enough after driving from 10th on the first lap. He wants to win this race and wants to lay down a marker as they head towards the semi-finals. Top 3 all together, and P1 Dylan, just we're watching brief at the moment, but closing that gap as now Nathan pulls alongside David Red for slipstream, just allowing the Hungarian to pull clear. But we'll just see what happens as they come to the braking area. Will NM1 go for a move? Oh, late move by David Red there, moving across possibly twice in the braking area. You've got to be careful doing that. But it's going to be close. 1 second gap covers the top 3. as they head up onto the mountain for the 11th time. Looking further back, Philo still in 6th place, a second ahead of Callum Cripps Racing, and Callum could be out of his championship, as it could be Icklepants. Jev Kuska, who was in the top 6 early on, and ART Roadrunner, who doesn't seem to have had the pace today like he had last week. Maybe it's just not getting on with this car, or Bathurst itself. Different cars. Bathurst is an enjoyable circuit, but not a circuit I've sort of always got on with my driving style, and Roadrunner's starting to look a little ragged as he pushes to try and close in on the top 9. But out in front, Daco is pulling clear and leaving David Red to fight off the attentions of Club 100 NM1. As NM1 looks to the inside of the chase, won't make it through there. Just half looks costing him, and David Red's run wide, and that's going to give NM1 a run around the outside. Oh, he's on the grass. Will he make it back through? This is allowing P1 Dylan to go up into 3rd place. NM1 fights back, a little bit of contact there with David Red, and he's in the wall, David Red. Ooh. Now then, was that tit for tat, or was that a little bit too strong by Nathan in the Club 100 car? We'll go back and look on board with Nathan as he's on the grass. He has a look back. There's P1 Dylan, just gets late on the brakes. There was a gap there at first, but that gap closed. But now NM1 is up into 2nd place. So 3rd place still, with P1 Dylan taking advantage of that situation, and down to 4th is David Red, who doesn't seem very happy with that situation. But the gap was initially there. Maybe it's a bit harsh by Nathan, but the stewards will probably have a look if there is an appeal. But at the moment, both cars will still qualify for the next round, as David Red has Fubuki closing in on him behind. There again is TNR Philo, just holding off Callum Cripps, who's close behind. That's a battle for the final qualifying position with 4 minutes 20 remaining. The next gen driver just ahead of Callum Cripps for SBR. Which team will get their driver through? And there is Callum Cripps with a 3.4 second penalty to get rid of around this Mount Panorama circuit. He'll have to get rid of that in some of the braking zones somewhere, but without losing time to Philo, because he's now just picking up the slipstream, just trying to make his way through. As Callum is now picked up that slipstream, he's now 2 tenths off that position that he needs on the bubble to qualify for next week. He has this penalty to get rid of. Oh, and we must have had contact in front, because there is David Red, and Fubuki has got through, and David Red is now off the track again, in the wall again, and he's now not qualifying for next week. Let's have a look back at replay and see if we can see what happened here. Here he is, David Red into the corner, just goes into the chase far too quickly, up over the grass, and comes straight back on dangerously into Fubuki. That was dangerous by David Red, and no wonder he backed off to let Fubuki go. But Fubuki will not be happy at that, and then he defends into the final corner, loses back of the car. He's trying to rejoin and just catches the side of Callum Cripps, but that has changed, and it looks like David Red may have... No, that's just a replay finishing, sorry. But there he is in 8th place now, and from leading this race a few laps ago, he is now down in 8th and not qualifying for next week's race. But there is Daco. Ooh, just catches the wall there actually over the top of the mountain. But he sits there with a 3.5 second lead with 2 minutes 20 remaining. And without a mistake, that is over. This race is Daco's to lose now. As we look further back, there is NM1, who has moved through from pole position to 10th off the start line and is looking to try and close the gap to the leader, but it doesn't need to win this race, and second place would still be a great result after that start that he had. These are not slow drivers, it's not like he's had to carve through a load of rookies, so it's well done by Nathan for that. There is P1 Dylan in third, 4 seconds off the lead still. Early challenger for the lead as well when he was fighting with Fabuki, but now he just is settling in and just trying to steal second place off NM1. There is Fabuki clear in 4th place at this stage and hoping to hold on to that position. The early leader used a bit too much fuel while out in front, and that's what's cost him a lot of that 8.3 seconds, as well as that off when David Red rejoined. And behind that is TNR Philo and Callum Cripps, who will both qualify at this stage for the next round. Callum Cripps 2.8 seconds ahead of Ickelpans, who we haven't seen much of in this race, but he's been quietly going across it against his business. But Callum Cripps 2.8 seconds penalty to get rid of during this final lap, because we have 35 seconds remaining and it is down to the final lap. All 11 cars have made it onto that final lap, which is great to see. So, a few comments coming in the chat. Nathan's livery is looking very professional on the podium, says. SBR Sim Racing saying David Red sees red. Yeah, I think that was part of it. He just, you know, we all know in racing when one thing happens, another thing happens, and another thing happens, and you just, it all barrel rolls into one, and you end up down in 8th place as he is at this moment. But we are on the final lap now of this half an hour race. Callum Cripps has made it past Philo, but that is not important. He's 2.8 seconds of a penalty to get rid of, and Ickelpants is, Philo has 3.5 to get rid of. So both drivers are struggling to get rid of these penalties, and Ickelpants is in the driving seat here. Ickelpants could get that position, and David Red in 8th. If he has a flyer of a final lap, he could still qualify for this semi-final next week. But here we are, Daco with a great drive so far, comes down to the final corner, brakes early, gets it through the apex, and he's going to win week 2 of Lobby 1 for this mega team versus team event. So he wins, Daco wins by 4 seconds over NM1. P1 Dylan comes home in 3rd, Fabuki the early leader in 4th, Callum Cripps in 5th, Ickelpants comes home in 5th after penalties, which gives Callum Cripps the final qualifying position. So him passing Philo on that last lap was all important. And there is Philo, who was about to qualify and had the penalties to get rid of, and he finishes down in 7th place, while David Red is down in 8th, Jev Kuska 9th, Roadrunner in 10th, and there is your winner, Daco 1993, who wins the Lobby 1 for the team versus team and will qualify through to the next round. So if I just find, I'll just save that replay and just find the full race results. Fastest lap goes to the Club 100 driver NM1M with a 2:10.1. From pole position, he'll be disappointed to not have walked that race, considering the pace he obviously showed throughout the race. But Daco will gladly take that win, the only driver to complete the race in under 31 minutes. Nathan Matsman NM1 comes home in 2nd, P1 Dylan 3rd, Fabuki 4th, Ickelpants 5th, Callum Cripps in 6th, and those are your qualifiers. And it was tense at the end with Cripps and Philo both having penalties. So Philo unlucky to finish down in 7th and just out of the positions. David Red, seeing red, dropping to 8th. Jev in 9th, Roadrunner 10th, and Burnt Fry in 11th. So we just had a message through off NM1 that at the start he was using his controller for something and the wheel unconnected by the sounds of it. So that would explain what had happened, but I think we all know that may have happened. But fortunately for NM1, it still means he qualifies through to the next round, and that will be next week. There'll be 6 drivers who have qualified through from the other lobby. I will see if I can spot who they are, just so we can just see if I can find out who qualified. Only 9 runners made it to the other lobby. But there'll be disappointment there. But I think driver of the race has to go to Daco. He sat there in 4th place, just bided his time, went that extra lap on the pit stop, made it past David Red early on in his second stint, and pulled away to take a clear victory. Seemed in complete control of it, and it'll be interesting to see who's qualified for the semi-final from the second lobby, and obviously who will qualify for the B final from the second half of the draw. But I've just had a message through that says that Marky Boy, who is teammate to NM1, has qualified through from the second lobby. Here we go. Ricci, who won the lobby I commentated on last week. Hikarama, whose teammate Philo, so at least one next gen driver has got through. Raoul, Marky Boy and Racing Green all qualify through from the other lobby. So there is your drivers: Daco, NM1, P1 Dylan, Fabuki, Icklepants, C Crips, Ricci, Hikarama, Raoul, Marky Boy and Racing Green will all qualify for that semi-final next week. Not sure what channel it will be on, but keep noticing it on Facebook, and we will be able to let you know. I should be commentating on one of the grids next week, but we'll wait and see what will happen there. But that was some great racing, and your winner was Daco. Driver of the day was Daco, but that doesn't mean that he will win next week with a semi-final with that field. It's going to be tough to decide who will be the winner of this team versus team, and it'll be interesting to see which teams have actually got 2 drivers through. Club 100 definitely have. I don't know who the other drivers race for at this moment in time, so keep it connected to this channel. If you've enjoyed this race, click like, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we will see you next week for week 3 of the team versus team mega event, where we will crown one driver the champion of a mega team versus team.